This episode contains sensitive topics. Discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome back to the Lusty Lounge. It has been a while since I've been the one in charge here, but we've got a great episode ahead, something that I get to learn about this time that I've always wanted to learn about. But as always, I am here joined by my co-hosts. We've got Puce.
What's up, everybody?
And Suna.
Hello.
And today we have another very special guest. Shibby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Shibby. I'm I guess hypnodom is the term most people use.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, if that's all, if that's...
It's complicated. There's a lot of stuff that I do that's hard to kind of encapsulate under one word.
Well, do you want to take a couple minutes to kind of explain all of what you do? Give us a little to-do list
Sure.
of what you do.
So, I guess my baseline is I make erotic hypnosis audios, but I also edit them, I write them, I advertise them, I do the marketing and all of the sort of fan engagement. I also make other types of erotic audios and some audios that aren't erotic, and I have a lot of fun with it.
So pretty much if you want your ears pleased, listen to Shibby talk a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Or
ASMR is fun too.
or if you want your mind fucked.
I'm really good at that.
Are you better than my job is at fucking me?
I don't think that... I think it's a very different type.
It's still being fucked.
I think you'd like Shibby's way of fucking your mind up a bit more. I've listened to a little bit of your audio, and I gotta say, I'm not an audio person, but I definitely enjoyed your voice.
What does that mean?
I've tried listening to the ASMR and like stuff like that, and I don't do just audio.
Sorry, I missed some of that. My Discord crashed for some fucking reason.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm here. I'm good now.
Wondered why you went silent for a moment. I thought we scared you off.
I wondered why you went silent. I was like, shit, you're really leaving me to carry this all up.
It wouldn't be the first time. It won't be the last neither.
Suno was saying he hopes you can mind fuck him better than his work does.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for the government. That's all I'm allowed to say.
So you do hypnosis and all that stuff. So I was curious, are there certain type of people who are more susceptible to hypnosis or more optimal to
more
be
likely
hypnotized?
to practice it? Well, I guess technically, those with DID, dissociative identity disorder, have the most hypnotizability of any group. They're also the ones who should be the most careful with it. As for some, it can kind of make telling reality from fantasy very hard. We have a lot of different people from all walks of life in the hypnosis community, though. If you go to any erotic hypnosis event, you'll actually find that like a third of the people are trans. We just have a lot of people. But almost anyone can be hypnotized. It's just a matter of if they want to or are willing to let go of that level of control. I mean, you guys have probably gone into trance without even realizing it. There's like this cliche example of going through a doorway and forgetting what you went through to grab. Or if you're driving and you end up somewhere without remembering doing the full drive. Both of those are examples of kind of self-trances that people can put themselves in. Anytime you put your conscious mind aside for a little bit and let muscle memory take over while your mind drifts elsewhere, it's a form of trance. I used to get it actually when I was a massage therapist. When I work on people, my mind would kind of go to sleep as my hands were moving because it was very soothing for me. And you look around, you might find sometimes you've gone into trance.
All right, now I'm fucking scared. She gave a real answer. Like a legitimate answer backed up by facts and science. I'm terrified.
Hey, I can do more than just make slutty moans.
She's gonna tap into that skull and figure out what's wrong with you, Suna.
No one can do that.
Not qualified for all
I was
that.
gonna say, yeah, hypnosis is
But-
different than therapy.
Not completely, though.
Like, it can
And
be a part of therapy for sure.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it's something everyone's gets used on them regularly without really noticing. If you go into a church, for example, I think the last time was somebody's funeral, it's just nonstop hypnosis techniques and conditioning techniques. Like when the pastor, they change their voice deeper in sermons, the cadence, the repetition of certain words and mantras. That's hypnosis. Anytime a congregation is conditioned to say a word or a phrase in response to the speakers, that's also a common and effective hypnosis technique. And they do it to kids. I considered mine a lot more ethical because people know what they're getting into and can consent.
Yeah, fuck churches.
But a lot of advertisements also use those techniques. It's just anything that's kind of designed to get into your brain and condition you a certain way.
Well, that makes sense. I probably should have included this in the questions because I think I focused mostly on the hypnosis questions. But do you do this as a profession or is this like a side hobby? What do you consider it?
It's definitely a profession at this point. In the beginning, I was just doing it for free and fun, and then people were like, you should make a Patreon. We want to give you money. And yeah, within 3 months of that, it was making a lot more than my job as a massage therapist.
Oh, damn, that's pretty fast. Sounds like
Bro,
people loved
help
you.
us. Help us. Please.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of luck to it, and I guess I just did things the right way at the right time.
I have a question based off the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
The self-trance thing, is that like when I walk up to the fridge, open it, and go, why the fuck am I here?
Yes.
Damn.
That is a form of trance.
Damn it.
Like I said, let people do it. They don't notice it. Mine's just a little more overt and more fun.
Just a little bit. When people listen to you, they actually know what they're looking for, not look into the fridge and see nothing and come back 5 minutes later and still see nothing.
Me, just like, man, someone should buy some food, because I bought food last time.
How long have you been doing all this audio stuff, Shibby?
I think like 8 years now.
Hot.
So you are not like the rest of our guests who started because COVID made them get into their hobby a little more.
COVID was great for me, though. My Patreon went, woo! It was good.
Listen.
People having lots of time inside, away from other people, really made them need to have something to connect with.
How did you get into this?
I've made audios, like, a long fucking time. I've always been, like, a kinky person. And it used to be, I think the first place I ever posted an audio was fucking 4chan, social boards.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Back in the
That is
fucking
quite
day.
the place to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, that was the place. And at first it was like they had this R Vokery thread, and people would post scripts, and then other people would do the sexy scripts, and those were fun. And then I was like, I can write something better than this, and I did. And then I kind of forgot about it for a couple of years until I was dating a dude, and his primary form of porn was erotic hypnosis. So we would use it like as foreplay sometimes. You know, I'd shove some headphones on and put something on. And he showed me Gone Wild audio. And I was like, cool, I've like made these things and never had a place to put them. So I made some audios and put them on there. And then I got into the making erotic hypnosis audios basically out of spite.
The fuck does that
Out
mean?
of spite.
Out of spite? The first one, at least. No, he went to a hypnosis convention without me. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'll show this motherfucker I can hypnotize better than any of these bitches. Granted, I'd never done hypnosis at this point. So I listened to a file, and then I made my own file. I put it on Gone Wild Audio, and then it just steamrolled from there. But it was initially kind of, you know, like, I'll show this. I can do better.
You can say bad words.
You really said that, oh, they can make you come, but I can make you come harder.
Yes, and I did. I made a lot of other people come too. Because I didn't know this at the time, but apparently HFO audios were something that most hypnodoms would sometimes do. And then my first one was an HFO file. And then I just kept making HFO files.
HFO meaning hands-free orgasm?
Yeah. They're fun.
Hey, look at me using my brain.
I don't know if I'm scared or proud.
That'll be the
Why?
first, because usually I'm the dumb host.
He's not the smart one.
I'm the one who makes the dumb comments usually.
And they're not like dumb ha-ha content. It's, I legitimately think this, and I'm like, why? How did you get
To
here?
be fair, half of the time it's kind of funny.
That's not the problem.
Follow up to my earlier question, people who can be hypnotized. What about people who want to become hypnotists? Can anybody become a hypnotist?
Oh, absolutely. If you want to start, my advice would be to go to classes or conventions for it. Makes it a lot easier when you have a place where you can learn how to do it right. There's some great books. Mind Play by Mark Wiseman is one I'd suggest. And then there's also the Amnesia book that Leah Lore wrote. But just doing it is honestly the best way to get into it. Confidence is really important, but I think one of the most important things is that the person you're doing it with, if you're doing it face to face, is that your first couple people are hypno-sluts. People that get hypnotized easily, because then you kind of have that confidence boost.
That sounds like a nice way to get into it. Make sure it's somebody who likes it really a lot.
Yeah. And there are like full-on conventions with classes, and I think Nihu is a really good one. That one just happened. They literally have mentors. So you sit in a room with somebody else. They'll pair you up with somebody who wants to be hypnotized, and then they'll have a mentor that'll kind of like help lead you along the way to help you get started. And, you know, they'll make sure they go over all the ethical concerns and all the important things.
Okay.
There's a lot to learn about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of my files, I just make shit up and it works. There's a lot of people out there, you just look at them a certain way or say just one word and you can just drop them just like that.
Jesus Christ, that voice.
Down, girl.
I think it's going to be quiet for a whole different reason this episode.
Yeah.
But then you do have to wake them up.
No, I was just saying you don't have to wake them up, but you should wake them up. I'm all for the chaos. I like seeing shit go sideways and going, huh?
Yeah, but
All right, then.
You can actually like genuinely fuck somebody up.
Yeah, there are abreactions that can happen in hypnosis.
Like what?
You don't know what shit somebody's been through. People can have past traumas and you can inadvertently like kind of poke that bear and bring shit to the surface that you're not expecting as a hypnotist. You're sitting here, you're like, all right, I'm going to make this person come. And then suddenly, you know, they're bringing up all sorts of emotional shit from their past. And you have to be ready to deal with that because sometimes that kind of shit happens. And when you're doing it face-to-face. I don't do too much of the face-to-face. Generally, I make my files and...
Send them out with a warning label.
Yeah, warning label. I have aftercare files because it can be very intense for people and sometimes they need just something soothing, just something nice and relaxing and friendly afterwards. But if you're doing like stuff one-on-one, you gotta...
Can I just have
through.
the aftercare file?
That's what I was just about to ask.
I need some like positive affirmation in my life.
I have some of those. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have too many fucking files, but...
Let's talk after the show about that then. So, I have a series of stupid questions.
How stupid are they?
About Puce level. You don't know what that means.
So that's like a 1 on the 1 out of 10 scale of 1 being dumb and 10 being genius.
All right. Let's get it.
Do you read dojins?
Oh, what now?
Damn it. Do you read dojins?
What's that?
Do you read manga?
No, I can't get into the whole doing it backwards thing.
That's crazy to me. Is you just flip the
I
book the
watch
other
anime.
way.
No, it doesn't work for me. It's
All
supposed to
right.
go from left to right, not this right to left shit. This fucking backwards. Can't do it.
All right.
I
All
feel
right.
that.
Side question then. How do you feel about Celsius versus Fahrenheit?
Celsius versus Fahrenheit? That's such a
Yes.
random question.
I'm gonna have to like pull out my phone and like change it to see, but other than that, I don't really.
You don't really care. Okay. So
Is that because you lived in
just the
Australia
books.
for a minute?
No. So it's just the books being the other way. It's not America being stupid and everyone else kind of having it right. Kinda.
Oh, I make fun of my international friends all the time for driving on the wrong side of the road. I just had my assistant. I flew him out to the States, so a bunch
Oh,
of
that
us could
poor
go to a
man.
convention together.
That
Oh yeah,
poor
we tortured
man.
him. We tortured him. My assistant's British. He's from England. And so one of the first things, because him and a couple other friends stayed at my house for a few days before we went to the convention. And the first thing was like, oh, where's your kettle so I can make some tea? And I'm just like, there's the microwave.
Oh.
And apparently that's how you torture a British person.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that
an
feels
easy
bad
one.
for me and I live here.
That's an easy one. to mess
Okay,
with Brits.
but you watch anime, so that's a good starting off point. Do you watch hentai?
Sometimes.
So, how do you feel?
I don't watch it for the plot though, so
A lot of people don't. They're mostly non-existent. So, how do you feel about when the specific kink is hypnosis, and they just kind of hold up a phone and go, "All right, you're hypnotized," and they're like, "Yes, master." How's that make you feel as someone that does this for a profession?
Oh, the whole
I
black
mean, it's
spiral
a plausible storyline. You don't understand just how susceptible some fucking hypno sluts are, all right?
But like, it's just spiral. Well, it's not even spirals on the phone anymore because they're like, that's too hard to animate. So now it's just a pink screen, and I'm like, huh?
When you're playing with somebody with hypnosis, you can put post-hypnotic triggers in them. And it can be something like when you see a spiral and then you know it's me sending it to you, you'll react in such and such a way. That's a perfectly easy suggestion to implant in somebody. You just want to make sure you give it those safeguards that it's when it came from me, when I'm intending to do this to you, and not kind of leave it open-ended so like they're walking along the street and there's an advertisement that suddenly makes them drop to their knees and start barking like a puppy.
Hot.
I was not expecting that answer, but good to know.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
be careful.
well, so that tells me when you see it in the hentai, you're just like, yeah, this makes sense. This is logical.
It's plausible.
Perfectly logical.
Damn, that's not something
It's
I
not
ever
world
hear.
breaking for me.
That's crazy. I feel as though as someone who's just like, nah, you gotta try real hard to get me to go under. I'm like, it's just a pink screen. That's it. There's nothing special about that.
Like I said, it's people being conditioned into it. It's not, oh, they've never seen this before, and
But
the
they
first
ha-
time they look at it, it works. It's when you've conditioned them ahead of time.
She's staying there
But in
missing a
most
couple extra
hentai-
steps, but
Well, I'm saying in hentai, yeah, in hentai they cut all that out, so they just show the pink screen, and you're like, that's the first time this character's seen that. Why are they doing that?
Well, there's two types of people that listen to erotic hypnosis, or at least there's two types of ways people listen. There's the people that they want the hypnosis as a means to an end. So for a lot of trans women, for example, they'll listen to files because they want to experience that feeling of being a girl when they close their eyes in a certain way, or being treated like, you know, the gangbang hoe, or just something like that. There's people, they want to go fuck a mermaid. And you can't do that in real life, but with hypnosis, you can hypnotize somebody, bring them into a fantasy space where they can get fucked by a centaur if they want. These are things that are possible with hypnosis that you can't normally experience. But then there's also the crowd that it's the hypnosis themselves that's arousing for them and that interests them. And you could hypnotize them just to freeze in place, and that will get them practically creaming themselves. It's...
So, Shibby, are you trying to tell me mermaids don't exist?
They do in some of my files.
Ah, good answer. So, Shibby, that whole like crowd freezing thing kind of brings me to one of the things I meant to put in the questions, but I don't think I did. Is that whole like on stage hypnotist thing real at all, or is that kind of staged?
It is real. What a stage hypnotist does, though, is, it's not picking up every fucking person who wants to come up to the stage. They generally do a series of suggestibility tests first to see who's actually susceptible to hypnosis or who's willing to play along. I don't think they actually care which it is.
As long as the show goes on.
Yes. So you'll notice a lot of times stage hypnotists will like tap someone on your shoulder and be like, go back to your seat. That's because they don't think this person's entertainment value is as high.
Okay. So a mix of yes, it's real and no, it's fake. But as long as the show is there.
Not fake, scripted.
Scripted. Just.
I don't think it's fake though. If you have a crowd of 100 people watching, you can find some people that are susceptible.
I was going
to
say it's a matter of working the crowd.
Yes, not every single person, but people either be entertained by being hypnotized or watching the person being hypnotized.
I have listened to a couple of your audios just to kind of get a feel of what you're doing. Like 30.
Which ones?
Mostly the boob related ones. So
okay.
I'm a boob guy, so when I saw those titles, I was interested. But I was going to ask, is there warm up audios that some people have to listen to kind of get into that headspace, or is it just kind of like hop in and enjoy the ride?
It depends on the person and the audio. Some people, they need like the inductions. Beginners generally need more inductions and deepeners to really get them into a proper headspace. People who've been doing it a while, they can skip all that and just go straight to the first trigger word, because a lot of files, I install trigger words to bring people down into trance. So if they have these files installed in them deep enough, then I just say that word and they go down. But then for beginners, there's other files that have very lengthy inductions, very lengthy deepeners. And honestly, some people just enjoy that part of it. Like I said, the people who being hypnotized is their kink. They like to be brought down slowly.
Bring their mind to a more peaceful state. Gotcha.
Yeah. Relaxed is important.
Always a good key to life.
So, is it possible to, like, break a person who's just being resistive?
Are we talking willingly resistive or unwillingly resistive? Either way, the answer is yes, but one is ethical and one is not. I mean, you can break anybody if you shove them in a room and keep them restrained and do shit to them long enough. But that's not the hypnosis I
don't think that. I was going to say that doesn't sound like hypnosis. That sounds like something else.
There's hypnosis in there.
No, there's this misconception that you can't make anybody do something under hypnosis that they don't want to do. And the thing is, that can be true to a point, but if you can make somebody do something via peer pressure that they don't want to do, it's kind of hypnosis is the same way. They might not want to do a certain thing, but because they're conditioned to want to do whatever you want, when you're telling them to do it under hypnosis, they might still do it, even if it's not something they wouldn't normally want to do.
Right. So more if they're kind of get a people pleaser type attitude.
Yeah, so you can peer pressure to people into doing all sorts of fucked up shit they don't want to do.
Like buying video games, because Twitter was like, hey, yo, this game is good. And I went, man, if all of Twitter said it was good, it must be good.
It sounds like money well spent then, if it was good.
Yeah, it was. I just gotta play the last game now. Goddamn Twitter.
I stay off of it.
It's great until people start arguing, and you're like, what are you arguing over? And like, oh, this is stupid. Why are you arguing over this?
That's why I stay off of it. I like to argue, and
that's me too.
If I was on it, I'm sure I would get into some shit that I should not, so I stay off of it.
But there are titties on Twitter.
There's titties everywhere.
Especially if you're hypnotized to see them.
I was going to say, but I can just pull up Twitter on my phone and go, titties. I got to do a bunch of searching if I want to find other titties.
I can type titties on Reddit and find a lot of titties.
That's Reddit. I don't fuck with Reddit.
Reddit's a good place to find stuff.
Plus, I have my own titties to play with, so
Well, I don't have that. Also, you know what? I'm gonna be disrespectful as shit for a second. Could I be hypnotized to play with your titties?
There's files that make people feel like they are.
I think she cut out. Now I'm sad.
Uh-oh. Shibby, did your Discord crash again?
No,
Oh, okay.
I had a vibrator by my foot and my toe hit the button.
I want to be where you are. Yo,
I record from my dungeon.
Yo.
I'm literally in my dungeon right now. My workplace is a dungeon, which means that all the things I buy from my dungeon are
Tax write-off.
business expenses, so long as I use them to make sound effects.
Tax
As
write-off.
long as you use them in your business
Yes.
account. Mostly. I am not a tax representative. Don't take tax advice from me.
Then don't give it.
Some of my files need whip sound effects, leather sound effects, chain sound effects. I am predominantly a hypnodom, which is the dominatrix bit, so.
It makes me feel happy that instead of you going to look for the audio effects, you just went, fuck it, I'll just buy the stuff to make the sound effect myself, and then get paid
Foley
off for it.
work is fun. Foley work is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Right, you don't know anything about me. Yeah, I have a degree in media production, so yeah. Yeah.
You just hit all of his buttons, Shibby.
I wouldn't say that. I'm just she's saying stuff I know about that I feel like you don't know about. I don't know if Minka's still here or not. I'm just gonna assume she's in the corner. So
She's probably way too happy with Shibby's voice.
I'm more holding off because I know as soon as I start my questions,
you can start your questions.
No.
The dogs could bark at any second.
No.
That's why I haven't been talking a lot.
as soon as I start my questions, I'm probably going to take over the entire conversation, and you two will kind of be put off to the side.
So you can start your questions, and because I've talked quite a fair amount, and so has Suna. So your turn to get some voice lines in.
I just don't want to hog the guests.
You're the one who talks.
You know what?
most,
I'm proud
so I
of
like
you
it.
for realizing you had a problem and you're working on it. Most people don't get that far.
It's fine. I like talking about my job. I have the best job in the world.
That's your cue, Minka. Unload all the questions.
So, I feel like we've answered a lot of the kind of like basic layman stuff about this, and some other stuff. But hypno is one of those blind spots for me. And I do have a little bit of experience. Like, mindfuckery is something that I know is a huge kink of mine. I just haven't explored it much. So learning about this stuff from you has made me more excited about it. And, you know, I said I had questions. I was going to dominate the
Yeah, you sure
conversation.
did. I was gonna say you've been word vomiting for a minute. I'm like, there's a question here somewhere.
yeah.
Like this build-up's been crazy.
That's fine. Excitement's good.
Yeah, that's the ADHD part of me.
If you have ADHD, I would suggest that you go for more of confusion inductions, recursive type inductions. I have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Things with a kinesthetic kind of aspect to them can work really well for those with ADHD. But what you really want is you're not going to want the inductions that are just somebody speaking for a long period of time. You want layers. You want like the multiple voices coming at you. You want it so your brain is trying to listen to 2 or more tracks all at the same time, because that's what will actually keep it. If you're only listening to one just straight voice with nothing, it can be a lot harder for those with ADHD to focus. But if there's multiple things coming at you, it's kind of like how multitasking can sometimes be more soothing, because eventually your brain kind of realizes I can't keep up, and it can just kind of surrender. And in that moment, you can get a really good trance out of things.
That is good information to have. What was the word you used? Kinesthetic? Like, is that what it was?
Yeah, kinesthetic can be
Kinesthetic.
good. That can be harder to find in files. If you're playing with a person in person, though, kinesthetic is really, really good, especially if you have ADHD.
For those in the audience who don't know what that means, me being in the audience, what does that mean?
Me also being in the audience.
It has like a physical aspect to it, like a...
So there's kinesthetic is a form of modality. It's like there's audio. So people who get hypnotized, they can get hypnotized better one way as opposed to another. Some people get hypnotized really well via auditory stimulation, so they love files because just on my voice alone is all it'll take. Other people like visual stimulation, so spirals and flashing text works best for them. And then some people kinesthetic. So this works best in person, of course, but the act of somebody like kind of touching you in a soothing pattern, you can kind of draw spirals on someone or talk to them in such a way that as my hand goes down your arm, you find your mind dropping with it, and having that touch to it, which is kinesthetic, is basically the touch form, really helps a lot. And then people are mixed. People have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I find for people with ADHD, if I'm playing in person, kinesthetic is great. You give them something to fidget with and you put that into the trance. So like I have this little mylar flogger I have, and I'll have them twirl it in between their fingers, and they stare at it as it's twirling, and I talk about how sparkly it is, but having that thing to fidget with helps calm a part of their brain so they can relax more and be more susceptible.
Dang, I'm learning way too much today.
No, you're not. You can't learn too much.
Disagree.
But
I have a dumb question really quick.
okay.
Why is it always a spiral? Why isn't it a different type of shape?
There are different types of shapes people use. It's just spiral's the classic. There's so many kind of allegories. Is that the right word? I think it might be the right word. There's so many kind of ways to like bring it into things, like feeling sucked into it, feeling drawn in. The fact that it's kind of spiraling in can really be made to connect with kind of your brain being drawn in a lot of ways. But also it's just the fucking classic. But you'll see if you go on different sites, you can make any sort of pattern that'll really work.
Okay.
Spirals are kind of, you see spirals and hypnosis pops in your head.
No, not after seeing the fucking Jigsaw movie. I'm just like, nah, I'm just mad.
Yeah, it's
Or
hypnosis.
fucking Uzumaki from Junji Ito. So I'm like, man.
But yeah, I specifically, like, the actual word itself was what I was trying to remember. But like kinesthetic, it's actually funny that you bring that up, because literally this week in therapy, we started talking about like the type of therapy we're going to be doing to start working on my PTSD and stuff. And it's a newer type of therapy called mind-body bridging. And apparently it works really well for neurodivergent people. And a lot of it has a kinesthetic aspect to it. So it's just really funny to me that I hadn't heard that word until Monday this week. And now here it is again.
And I will say, for trans women, I highly suggest going to kink events to hypnosis events, because broader kink events less so. But if you go to any hypnosis convention, literally a third is generally trans people.
It makes sense. As I've learned in therapy, so a lot of us with our trauma tend to try to rewrite those moments without realizing that's what we're doing. And so as trans women, there is a lot of trauma that we have from our lives. And whether that's just trauma from being in the body that doesn't match who we feel we are, or different things, like there's a lot of that. So I've noticed that there are a lot of kinks and fetishes that, well, there is that stereotype that trans women are very kinky, which tends to be true, but a lot of them tend to have to relate to, like you said earlier, like feeling like a cis woman, or kind of being able to relive moments in their lives that they wish they had, or moments they did have in a different way, kind of thing. So that makes sense to me, actually, that the population is largely consisted of trans women. So what, as a hypno-bottom, hypno-slut, what would you suggest are red flags to look out for if they are looking for someone to play with?
Oh, that was one of my questions. Warning. Thank you, Minka. Sorry.
Well, if you're in any sort of kink, it's the same kind of red flags you would find there. You want to be doing scenes with somebody who's going to talk to you beforehand about things like your limits. Honestly, a hypnotist that's okay with you not having any limits is a red flag, because that means the hypnotee needs to think things over a little more before they begin, because everybody should have things that they're not willing to do. Honestly, all the things that are red flags for a jerk dom. Back in the day, I was a sub, and you learn over time what to look for, but things like too much fucking ego, somebody who acts like they know everything and don't need to learn anything, is generally somebody who's a dumbass.
Yep. So stay away from cis men.
Oh.
And if you're listening to files, a lot of times you do want to research the hypnodom or hypno. I guess there's still a hypnodom, just without the extra ME. You want to research the hypnotist sometimes. You want to check out, because one issue we have in the hypnodom community is the financial dominatrices, sorry. Because they just give all of hypno a bad name and make payment companies a bitch. Because you can listen to a file, and if it's by somebody who's unethical, they'll get you into trance, be like, you want to do what I say, you want to make me happy, and then they'll bring in, like, you want to deposit money into PayPal for me, and they'll have no warnings on their content. So first couple times you listen to a specific artist, you should keep yourself from going into trance. See, is there stuff in there that wasn't on their content warnings?
Okay, now I have a question. You just corrected yourself from dominatrix to dominatrix?
The technical term for multiple of dominatrix is dominatrix. Kind of like cockatrice.
I didn't know that. Interesting. Man, get back to your questions.
I just blinked.
Oh, I have. Sorry, I'm still recovering what was just said. When does hypnosis fall under CNC? Think those are the right letters?
Consent, no consent?
Consensual non-consent?
Yeah, those. Yeah, when does that become
Hypnosis
a thing?
is really fun for that. I have a lot of files that use that. Some people enjoy the thought of being, but in a fantasy sense, a fantasy scenario.
So, okay. So actually with this in mind, with the CNC, because obviously there is that bit of it where generally if you're into CNC, you want to feel like it's real. Like you want to know that at the end of the day, in your subconscious, you're safe. But like in the moment, generally you want to feel like, your life is actually at risk or whatever is happening. Like that's part of the excitement of CNC. So like, does hypno help with that?
Honestly, I think one of the main motivations for a CNC is that feeling they want you so much that they don't take no for an answer. I think I get a lot of fan mail, and it's, while like the CNC itself can be really hot, for a lot of people it's that feeling so wanted that somebody's willing to like break the law and so on is really appealing to them as well. It's kind of like an affirmation that they're that desirable to somebody. And I mean, when you're in a fantasy and you're fucking and stuff, feeling desirable can be really important. And I mean, this person kidnapped you, locked you in their basement dungeon. Clearly they really desired you. So I feel that can be a strong motivator too.
Interesting. I haven't come across anybody that has explained it that way, but that does make sense as well.
One thing that helps me is I used to be a sub for a long time because, honestly, because of media growing up, I always knew I was kinky. And I always knew I was kinky. My stuffed animals went through fucking pain camp where I'd be like kicking them, but I'd do it out of love. All my Barbies got tied up. But when you actually started like figuring out what is this thing I'm into, everything I saw as a teenager was kink, or BDSM was male dom, girl bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of established this connection in my brain. I'm kinky, I'm a girl, therefore I must be a sub. And it took me a long time before I figured out that was not the case. So I experienced a lot of the sub stuff, and I think that helps me a lot with my work because I do know their brains. I do know how they work, and I do know how to use that to my advantage to fuck with them.
Ow.
I gotta say, I kind of love the whole, like, that seamless transition from, like, regular voice to Dami voice. Kind of hot.
Yeah. Minka, you gotta say yeah, too. We can't just be the two of us in agreement. That makes us seem like misogynists. We need your help.
Yeah.
You're fine.
I'm dealing with the effects of the voice, okay? Calm down.
Minka's getting tickled.
Just say yeah. Just say yeah, too. That's all I need from you. Just say yeah.
Yeah. Here,
No, I
you want some
I
more
like
yet?
all of that. We need to
Sorry,
keep
I
all
can't
of it.
resist sometimes. It's just fun.
I remembered the question that I blinked on earlier. So pickup play, like different types of kinks, pickup play works well. Sometimes it doesn't work well, but a lot of times because it is a risk, and a lot of times, the big
What is pickup play, Minka?
pickup play is when you go to do a scene with someone that you don't necessarily have a established relationship with. So like if you're at a party and somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, would you be okay if I were to flog you?" And then you have a negotiation and then you go, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." You work it all out and then you play with them. So that's what pickup play is. It's playing with people just kind of on the spot.
Yes, I've done that in the past.
So obviously the biggest thing in kink and BDSM is consent and trust. So with mindfuckery, like you've talked about these conventions and it seems like pick-up play is actually fairly common, but that kind of surprises me because especially with how you can mess somebody up, especially if you don't do the proper aftercare and stuff, like I feel like that could be dangerous, but is it just kind of that the community that tends to go to these events keeps it safe for people? Like if they have somebody who's problematic, they just kick them out and they're like, you don't come back.
If somebody is problematic, they will kick them out. If they're a good community. Unfortunately, in the BDSM world, there are both good communities and fucking bad ones.
Utah.
The state of Utah. It's just labeled as
In its entirety.
Hypnosis pickup play is just like any other BDSM scene where, like you said, you go over the do's, the don'ts. Where are you comfortable with me touching you? What are you comfortable with me bringing up? Is there anything that you don't want me to bring up? And honestly, for me as a hypnotist, if somebody doesn't have anything they're not comfortable with, I'm not comfortable playing with them because they're not being honest with me, or they're an idiot and they're not ready. Because I do think people do need to have a little bit of introspection before they go into any sort of deep play to know like what their limits are and what they are going to be comfortable with. But yeah, no, it's pick up play just like you said with the flogging. Like, where are you comfortable with me flogging you on your body? Are you comfortable with me touching you in between? Where can I touch you in between? It's kind of the same like, where can I touch your brain? What subjects are you comfortable with?
Oh, that's so,
what
Reading,
do we want out of this?
the history, a little bit of science.
that phrase is just hot in and of itself. Where can I touch your brain? And like for our listeners that are interested in this kind of stuff, I would reference back to our conversation with Winter. Was that his name?
Sure.
Our ex-doctor friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your friend.
Okay. So Winter was talking about how at their dungeon, they would always have an intermediary for these types of conversations for pickup play. Like, not only did they have a whole system where it's like if it wasn't on your card, then you couldn't do it until like you got training and everything. But
just because I'm a sadist doesn't mean I don't want the person to enjoy themselves and I don't want the person to feel harmed in any way after it. I want them to feel good.
yeah,
Or else I'll feel bad.
Yeah, if you're playing with a dominant person and like they're not making sure you're having a good time and you're enjoying it as well, don't play with them, because generally those are the kind of people that will come up and they're using being a dom as an excuse to like get their anger out on somebody, and that's dangerous. That's not okay. And unfortunately, my comment earlier, like it does tend to lean more towards like cis men. That tends to be a thing, again, kind of because society is like men are dominant, women are submissive. So all these men come out and they're like, okay, I'm going to be dominant, and these women, I'm going to treat them like however I want. And you've got to be careful with those kind of situations, because those are the people you don't want to play with.
Cis women can be just as bad.
For sure.
And people will let them get away with it. It's just some people are assholes, but just like you can in any other BDSM scene where you do like check-ins to see like how is this going for you, you can do that in hypnosis. Fractionation is really good and effective, where you bring somebody out of trance, maybe do a check-in, make sure like they're in that sleepy happy haze and not like any sort of, if they start going nonverbal and you haven't played with them to know enough is nonverbal a good thing or not, you can bring them up a bit, wake up a bit, check in with them, be like, how are we doing, And then when you drop them down, you can make it even stronger, send them into a deeper trance, and use that check-in as a way to make the scene more intense afterwards if everything is still going good.
Yeah, and like you do have a good point. Like cis women can be like, when I say cis men, that is partially from my experience in Utah, that those have been the people that have been the most problematic, as the majority. But anybody can be problematic. Like cis women dominance, cis women subs, trans women dominance, like cis male subs. Like anybody has a potential to be problematic. So it is very important to take care of yourself and really pay attention to who you're playing with.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple questions now that Minka's kind of brought into my brain. First question. As a hypnodom, what is the what's the aftercare for you? Especially as somebody who records their audio and like puts it out there just for people to listen to in mass, essentially.
It's a good question, but I don't know. After recording, I generally don't need aftercare. Recording, I'm an exhibitionist, and so when I record, especially if I'm doing it live, I get a kind of high from it. It's like my top space is a very powerful, fun place, and sometimes after I record, I want to go, beat somebody. But I wouldn't say I need any sort of aftercare.
Okay.
If I'm doing a scene in person, generally, their aftercare and my aftercare, generally find some way to mix some good cuddle or something. But
okay, I was
when
definitely
I'm just
curious
making
about
a recording,
because I was like, does she need aftercare for that?
I don't. Some might. I don't.
You might just want to come down, tell streamers. Well, streamers typically zone the fuck out. So
maybe I'll grab a vibrator or something, but sometimes that's just part of the life.
Have you personally ever experienced drop from being a hypnotop?
No, not really.
Okay.
For me, it's always an energizing thing. When I'm done, I feel energized, or I just want to go watch TV.
And that you've never had the drop kick in a couple days later or anything?
No, not like sub drop.
Because I do know that tends to be more common for when you're the sub, but obviously, there are some things because especially if you are into some sort of CNC thing, a lot of times it's also having a person who's being the top pushing themselves into a place they're not necessarily comfortable with either. And so I know that I've seen people come back from that, and obviously tops need aftercare too. Never forget, tops need aftercare too. But I've seen people experience drop from stuff like that.
Not for me. I am a sadist. I enjoy causing pain in a consensual setting. So the CNC stuff for me is a tops place I'm happy to get into because I know that the other person wants it and is consenting. And it's something I can't do otherwise. And I wouldn't do otherwise. There's this conscience thing. I wouldn't be able to. But when I know that this is what they want, I can get into that headspace. So afterwards, it's not really any sort of abrupt drop because, in my day-to-day life, I'm still a dominatrix. Even when I'm not making files, when I play with people, I'm a top.
I guess that's fair. you have a job where you don't have to go and necessarily like ever hide this part of your life or anything. Like you said you have the greatest job in the world. So I guess that would make sense that you don't. And like, obviously not everybody does experience drop. And I apologize. I'm not trying to like speak what you feel. This is just me trying to, analyze.
No, I understand. You're fine.
But yeah, like I feel like a lot of times that drop is because you've had such a ethereal experience, and then all of a sudden you have to go back to the day-to-day life, and like a lot of times that's a drag for people. And so to have gone from such a high, even just back to your normal, like it's like going to a convention. Like Suna,
Huh? I do shit, yeah. This cough's starting to run through me as well. Yeah, you're right.
like Suna, have you experienced con drop?
In the past, yes. Now, not so much because I've gotten older and I don't do as much.
I do get con drop, a little bit, but so most recently I went to a convention with a bunch of friends. Like I said, I flew in my assistant, some of the moderators from my Discord, and we all went to a convention together, and it was such a blast. And after they're gone, it's like you miss them. So we play Jackbox games, actually.
Oh, nice.
Online. We've done that a couple of times a week since the con, and it helps a lot with the con drop.
I'm going to butt in with my other question that I was thinking. So I like to think we coined this term, Shibby, but we like to use the term French vanilla for...
We absolutely did not. That D gave us that.
Okay. D coined it, and we use it a lot.
D probably grabbed it from the community.
Someone.
So
yeah.
Okay, but what does it mean?
So
vanilla spicy.
I was gonna say kinks that have kind of like broadened to the point where vanilla people use them in their bedroom.
Handcuffs.
And I was curious if you've noticed any sort of
slapping
hypnosis going into like kind of the general public use.
There's definitely people that are into hypnosis that are not into any other kind of kink. For them it is an enhancement. They don't want the domination submission stuff in it. So some of my files I call them vanilla if there's no DDS in them.
Okay, I was just curious because I don't know how you and Minka talking brought that into my mind, but it made me curious on if vanilla folks ever tiptoe into your territory.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people like it purely for the hands-free orgasm stuff. They don't want the domination. They want to, come without having to touch themselves. And that's a really big draw for a lot of vanilla people.
All right. Thank you.
You can have the feeling of having a blowjob without having to have anybody else there. There's also a lot of therapeutic uses for it. There's a lot of blind people will use this sort of thing for porn. I know a couple of fans, at least, that are paraplegics, and they have their caregiver put headphones on, press a button, and leave the room, and come back for clean later. So there are a lot of vanilla uses as well as vanilla people that also enjoy erotic hypnosis.
Yes, I love accessibility.
The one thing that can reach most people, except for the deaf.
Yeah, though I want to learn sign language one of these days, just to make a sign language one, because I feel like sign language would lend itself really well to hypnosis. But
I would definitely be interested
my
in seeing
attention
that
span
happen.
is not great for learning languages.
That makes sense that a lot of people are there for the orgasm, because that's what a lot of people do a lot of sex stuff for and kink stuff for, is to get their rocks off. How often? I imagine it's fairly often, because I know like a big part for me of why I want to be like mind fucked is because like one of my biggest fetishes is just not having any control, and that's partially, yeah, I imagine so. And part of that is it's like we're adults, we have to make so many decisions, and like sometimes that's overwhelming and you want to step away. But I imagine too that it's probably fairly common with the ADHD people too, where it's just like being able to drop into a trance really is like one of the only ways to actually get your mind to shut the fuck up.
Yes. There's a lot of people that listen to files that don't have anything erotic in them other than the domination. There's no like boobs, sex, fucking. It's just me kind of making their brain shut up for a bit. Me taking over, me giving them a permission slip to not have to do anything, because for some people it can be really hard to turn off their brains to stop being in control unless somebody takes it from them. So they can kind of just relax and kind of wake up renewed.
It's frustrating when your brain never shuts the fuck up.
I'm just double checking on my questions, see if we went over those. So give me a second.
Oh, yes. So, is it possible that, like, to kind of have implanted a trigger word on yourself, or, like, because for me, one of the things that, like, that really can quickly drop me into trance is when somebody, especially with the right tone and everything, calls me a good girl. And like, that's just one of those phrases that I'm like, that's probably the best 2 words in the entire English language put together. But is it something that I potentially have, like, kind of implanted myself, or is it more of a, like, that is goes into a fetish of mine, and because it's happened a lot in kink when I'm in, like, subspace and trances and stuff, that it's kind of just become kind of a trigger?
I would say it's both. You like having that reaction. That reaction has been conditioned into you. It comes from both sources. You just like it.
Okay. It is nice. It is the... Okay. So next question. I don't know how everybody explains them, and you probably will understand what I'm saying. Well, maybe, because, I don't know, you were a sub, but that obviously was not your overall calling in this realm of existence. But I usually call them kind of like the tingles. And so, it's like when you're talking to someone or, playing with someone or whatever, and like they say something that like really, really triggers that, like, oh God, yeah, no, this is working. And so it's like the whole body kind of tingles.
I have experienced that back in my sub days.
Okay.
Rarely, but and I know it can cause that pretty easily to people. It's very similar to the ASMR tingles, similar but different.
Is it? Do you think it's potentially like almost a precursor to a trance? Like it's kind of that your body's like, oh, like I'm safe? No?
I don't think it's so much a precursor. I think it's a separate thing that can be very complementary to a trance. And when somebody's in trance, you can intensify that feeling and make it more. But you can also cause that, like you said, just somebody calling you a good girl can make you just have it anyway. You don't have to be in a trance. It's something that a trance can definitely enhance, and it's something I definitely use in a lot of files. It's something you can use as a convincer really well. If you know somebody gets tingles when you say certain things, you kind of add that into the trance of like, oh, when you hear this, it'll give you tingles. And then you say it and they get tingles and their brain goes, oh, I heard it. I got the tingles. I must be in trance. And that kind of convincing thing helps a person go deeper.
I love that. Yeah, that's nice.
All right, Minka. It sounds like you and I and Suna have kind of started to burn out of our questions. I think it's time for last call. Unless you've got a lot more.
Are you the host, bitch?
No, I'm not. All right. Leave it, Minka.
Though I'd be happy to answer other questions at a later time. I do have a place I do want to go tonight. That's a kink event I'm going to. So
no, for sure, and it is actually like it seems like we've got a lot of stuff done. I just give him shit. Okay, so yeah, last call. Does anybody have any last thoughts, last questions, anything like
Shibby
that?
might not know what last call is.
Shibby, have you ever been to a bar?
yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like last call, but it would be like last call if there were only like 5 minutes before they cut off.
Okay,
So last questions, thoughts, stuff like that. That's what we run through when we call last call.
So yeah, is there anything?
I like the 2 different ideologies here.
Is there anything that you would love to share more kind of like as awareness or just kind of to get people excited or potentially to look into it or anything like that?
Outside of shouting yourself out, because we have a separate
I
section
feel
for
like
that.
HFOs are a whole other subject that you could spend an entire thing on, so
True.
I won't get into those.
Maybe we'll have another episode with you then.
Not off the bat.
Okay. That actually is a good teaser for another episode is I think we've mentioned it before, but in case there are any cis men out there that didn't know, you are capable of having multiple orgasms like quickly.
Just through your brain.
Yeah. And full body
That you will feel and you can ejaculate from.
Yeah, full body orgasms are fantastic.
It's kind of my specialty.
All right. So yeah, I think we will definitely have to have you back for that. Suna, you got anything?
No, because I'm trying to do 5 different things at once, making progress very slowly. How long do you plan on doing this for? Because people seem to be retiring from
Everything.
the internet left, right, and center very quickly, and it's a little alarming.
Honestly, the community is not always nice to the new hypnodoms, which I think is a shitty thing. But I plan on doing this the rest of my life because I make a lot of money for one thing. There is literally nothing I could ever do that I would make as much as I do doing this, first off. And second, it's really fun. I love it. I get to be my own boss. I get to make my own hours. I get to not have to deal with like PR shit. If somebody's annoying me, I can literally just call them a dickhead. And being mean to people who are being assholes is actually good for my cred because I'm a dominatrix. So I don't have to do that polite, flowery, super sweet, fake nice shit. I can be mean if somebody's mean.
Hell yeah.
I'm a little jealous because on our Twitter, I can't say the N-word, but I'm black, so I can say the N-word. I just can't say it on social media, and I'm like, this sucks.
Well, I mean, be imaginative. There's other words you can call people that are worse.
Well, no, because, like, I'll agree with someone and be like, yeah, that's my oh, I can't say that. I can't put that. That's my homie, yeah, and then, like, it just don't hit the same.
You sound like Hulk Hogan. Yeah, brother.
Yeah,
Well, no, I plan on doing
do
this
that
the
as
rest
a
of my
meme.
life. And if my voice ever fails, I've made enough audio, I can probably make a Shibby AI with the way AI is going these days. I honestly, some people ask me, am I worried about AI like making my job obsolete? But
That's a
I'm
question.
not really,
Not if
because
you're in control of it.
not if I make my own, you know.
Yeah, hook up with one of those super tech bros and have him help you set that up.
Well, right now, people are making hypno files and erotic audio files with the fake voices that are honestly getting better every fucking week, and it can be a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's got a long way to go before its files are as good as. And even then, the internet's going to be flooded with this shit. So people are going to click on things not knowing if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad. The bad stuff is probably going to be 95% of it, where it's just repetitive shit or it's just not a good file. So I think I'll still be okay because people will come to me knowing that my shit's going to be
You
good.
got that good shit.
They don't
People
have to
come
like,
back for.
they don't have to roulette with their porn.
I like that term. Puce, you got anything?
No, but that AI thing was a brilliant topic to bring up. So thank you, Shibby. I wouldn't have thought about bringing that up to an audio person, but AI is everywhere.
I listen to a bunch of podcasts on it. I like to know what the competition and potential ways I can use things will be. I'd really like to get into VR stuff a bit more, but I'm not the best technically. One of these days.
That makes sense. That would be a good thing to put along with the audio.
I have a couple where I partnered with people that do VR porn stuff, but I want to make my own. That's mine.
Well,
I'm sure if you continue to dabble, it'll slowly leak into your brain on how to be good at it.
Yeah, I hope it works out for you and you're able to figure it out. All right, well, thank you so much, as always, for coming to the Lusty Lounge. Hopefully you enjoyed your drinks. Our bartender is always a delight, and you better treat them with respect, or I'll kick your ass. As always, you can find us on... We're not on Patreon anymore, currently?
I'd have to double check. I don't know.
You might be able to find us on Patreon.
Just say no. It's easier.
You can find us on Ko-fi, Lusty Lounge. We have a Discord that you can join where we have a delightful set of people that have become a small family community, and we're all depraved, and it's delightful. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook, the Lusty Lounge. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate your support. And Shibby, where can people find you?
You can find me on Reddit, r/Shibby Says, or u/Kinky Shibby. You can also find over 600, I don't actually know how many I'm at now, files on my website at shibbydex.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I know Puce had previously mentioned in our pre-talks that he was very excited for this. And honestly, as I'm sure you could tell, I was very excited for this as well. This is something that I've always wanted to learn more about. So thank you so much for joining us. We definitely will. I play video games like every second that I have free time. So
I know.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.